Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Kirk Bekoff and I am currently a student in Statistics 3210 and thus I will be analyzing this graph for my presentation. Now the data that I'm actually analyzing today is murder and non-negligent manslaughter rates from 1960 to 2017. And first and foremost, looking at this piece of data, I wanted to make it clear that, well, first of all, we know that it's actually only based in the United States, and I can actually go over that a little more later, but so that's important to know, is that's only the United States and not in the world. And how to read this graph is that the x-axis is obviously time based in years, and then the y-axis is important to remember that this is per 100,000 inhabitants. So, for example, in 1980, it's 10.2 murders per 100,000 inhabitants. And so that is how you read the graph. Okay, and then so something that we notice is that there was two large kind of spikes in murder rates between, well, actually one in 1980 in the early 80s, and then another in the early 90s in 1991. 1991 being the 9.8 and the 1980 being 10.2. So those are both much higher, especially when we compare those to the earlier time period in 1960, as well as close to modern times in 2017 at near the end of this graph. Both are sitting in the five range per 100,000 inhabitants. This is kind of interesting to notice because we notice a drastic increase in murder rate, or murders per 100,000 inhabitants from 1960 up to the 1980s, and then a little decrease in the late 80s, and then a back to almost that 10 range in the 1990s, and then a huge decrease from the early 90s to almost the present in 2017. However, obviously this graph is not fully up to date because it's currently 2021, almost 2022, and we're looking at data that only goes up to 2017, and so it's hard to actually speak to the rates and the murders that have occurred between 2017 and 2021 and 2022 almost here. So that is important to know. We need more data to see whether they have risen or dropped further since then. Also, this data is actually backed up and posted by very reliable sources. You can kind of see there at the bottom that it was posted by the Washington Post, which is a national newspaper, and thus they're very reliable. And then also they even cited their own sourcing for this graph that they created, which was sourced from the FBI and the Uniform Crime Reporting. And so we know this is a reliable source, and we can definitely draw information from it. And so that is very important when looking at data, is to know where it's coming from and why it's reliable or not reliable. So this is definitely a reliable source in that case. Now, as to why the rates have increased or decreased, that is something that we don't know based on looking at this data, and so that's actually something that we need further data. We need to look at maybe why the rates were high at specific times, or what type of murder, or how people were being murdered in certain areas or in the United States in general, how they were being murdered at that time, and maybe why, or causations, so we definitely don't know, exactly why these murder rates were what they were. We just kind of know what they were based on this data, but we need much more information to kind of make a better statement as to why the rates were increasing or decreasing at specific times. So I really appreciate you guys listening to me today, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and thank you so much.